You know my name now? David Berkowitz. Some of you called me Son of Sam. 6 dead, 7 others wounded. That's the score I left behind in New York City between the summer of '76 and '77. But you don't know the whole story, not the way I tell it. So let me take you back to where it all began, to the heat of those summer nights, to the dark whispers that drove me, and to what I felt every time I pulled that trigger. I was born David Richard Berkowitz, but I was adopted, brought up by parents who tried to love me. My father worked hard, my mother kept to herself. I was an average kid, or so they thought. But inside, there was always something festering, some darkness pulling at me, like a disease I couldn't name. I was haunted by feelings I didn't understand, shadows that crept into my mind even as a boy. By the time I was a teenager, I knew I was different. I felt alone, unwanted, an outcast with rage boiling underneath. Some say it was my mother's death that broke me, that tipped me into madness. And maybe they're right. But I say, something inside me was already broken long before. When she died, I was left to wrestle with the demons on my own. Ugh. You want to know what it was like, don't you? The thrill, the pulse in my head the night I first picked up that .44 caliber revolver and pointed it at a stranger in the dark. The gun felt heavy, cold, and yet it felt like it belonged in my hand. The first time? It was late July 1976, near Pelham Bay in the Bronx. I spotted two young women, Donna Loria and Jody Valenti, sitting in a car. They never saw me coming. I fired and the explosion was louder than I expected, more final than anything I'd ever felt. Donna didn't stand a chance. After that, it got easier. I stalked the city like a shadow, finding my next targets. It was like being a hunter, but better. No one knew who I was. No one could catch me. Not the cops, not the city. I was the son of Sam. And every time I looked into my victim's eyes, before I pulled the trigger, it felt like they could see something in me, something that terrified them. And that made me feel powerful. Maybe you've read the letters I left behind, the ones I sent to the police and the media. I wanted them to know me, to fear me. I was already a ghost, but I wanted to be infamous. So I started signing those letters, Son of Sam. That name came from somewhere deep, a whisper I couldn't shake. My neighbour's dog, Harvey, the way he'd bark, it drove me crazy. You laugh, but I swear, his barking became a voice. A voice that urged me on, commanded me to keep going. That dog was telling me to kill, to keep my grip tight on that revolver, to keep my heart cold and my aim steady. I didn't need to know my victims. That wasn't what mattered. It was their fear, the sound of their last breath, the way the city was paralyzed with terror. I had them all dancing on a string, and I loved every moment of it. But all things come to an end, don't they? August 10th, 1977. I was coming home late, thinking about my next plan. The cops found me all because of a parking ticket. Imagine that. My whole bloody reign brought down by a ticket. When they dragged me in, I smiled. I wanted them to see the man behind their nightmare. I confessed to it all, every shot, every scream, every life I'd snuffed out. I let them know I was the son of Sam, the monster they'd all been chasing. Now, I sit here, wasting away in prison, knowing I'll never see the outside world again. They gave me 6 life sentences, more than enough time to think about the lives I took. Some say I've found God, that I've repented, and maybe I have. Maybe I'm trying to bury that son of Sam inside me. But even now, in the quietest nights, I can still feel the thrill, still hear that whispering. Once you've tasted fear like that, it never really leaves you. And what do people say about me now? They make movies, write books, all trying to dissect the mind of the son of Sam. They say I did it for fame, that I was just a madman looking for attention. They say the dog story was all an excuse, but no one will ever really know. Not you, not the police, not the media. They'll never know what it was like to be the son of Sam, to have a darkness that vast, that hungry, and maybe it's better that way. And one day, Maybe I'll be free of this shell, this prison, this regret. Maybe one day, when my body gives out, I'll meet the darkness again, and this time, maybe it'll consume me entirely. Thanks for listening to The Forgotten Files. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales from the shadows. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.